bubbles. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 types of bubbles, different sizes. So let's go and do that one. And this is the stitch that we're going to be using, and we're going to make 5. So that's 1, we knit in the front of that one, and then without taking it off we knit in the back, so that's 2, and then we knit in the front, so that's 3, and then we knit in the back, so that's 4, and then we knit in the front, so that's 5. So now we're going to turn, and we are going to purl our 5 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we turn again, and we knit our 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we turn and we purl our 5 again. And you can make as many turns as you want, because it depends on how big you want your bubble to be. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do this one as a 6 row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turn, and now we're going to purl 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to knit all 5 together. So we're going to go and pick up the 5, all of them together. So be very patient. So there's my needle there, and here comes my stitch. So now I knitted all of them together, and there's my bubble. So now I am going to knit a couple of rows, and I'll see you in a minute. So bubble number 2 will be making yarn overs. Instead of knitting front and back, we're going to do yarn overs. A lot of people believe this is easier. So on that one, we're going to turn it into 5. So that's 1 yarn over, 2 yarn over. Whoops, let me go back because I took my stitch off. So that's 1 yarn over, and do not take it off. Let's knit it again, yarn over, and now that's the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now I can take it off. So now I'm going to knit back 1,
That's
2,
purl.
yes, 3, 4, 5, purl back, and now I'm going to knit these again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then of course you can make as many rows as you want. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on the last one we did 6 rows. On this one we're going to make 5 rows. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I really want to show you how you can purl all your stitches together. So I have my 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I make them a little bit looser, and then I can purl them together, and there they are. And now you put your bubble in the front and continue with your knit. So that's another way of doing it, because you can make as many rows as you want. So that's that bubble. And then of course when you do yarn overs, you do have a little hole in the bottom. See it? Right there. In comparison to that one doesn't have a hole, but since you did yarn overs, that one does, which doesn't matter because it gets covered by the bubble. So I will make a couple of rows and come back. So I am going to show you another way, which we're going to make that one there, but instead of doing 5 stitches, we're going to do only 3. So in reality, I'm going to do this one and this one. So this is just to show you how many ways there are to do whatever you want to do. So let's do the bubble there, but with 3 instead of 5. But another way of adding stitches will be if you knit, and then this same stitch, put your yarn in front and purl, and then put your yarn in back and knit. And then of course you can do 5 if you wish, because you can do purl and knit. So that's my 5, but in this case we're going to do only 3. So I have knit, purl, and knit the same stitch. So of course now we turn and we purl our 3 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to show you something very funny, because you can certainly knit from, instead of turning, you can purl without turning. So this you really need to know how to knit, but this is, here it goes. So you put your needle there, yarn over, and pass it through. So I'm actually purling without turning. Yarn over and pass it through. And this is very nice if you have a large piece that you're working in, because you don't have to keep turning and turning and turning. So there's my 3. That was my 3 purls. So now 1, 2, 3. Of course, the regular way of doing purls is by turning it. So now this is another way of binding off your stitches for the bubble, and I am going to go out of those 3, I'm going to go and pass 1, and then I'm going to knit these 2 together, and that one that I passed goes over that one there. So that's another way of doing it, and I will see you in a bit so I can find another spot for another bubble. So now we can combine any other way of casting on for your bubbles. For the first one is knit front and back and front, and how many times you want of that same stitch. So you knit the front and then the back, then the front. That's method number 1. Method number 2 is if you knit 1, yarn over, so that's knit 1, yarn over, knit it again for as many times as you wish, and then this number 3 is knit, and then you purl, and then you knit as many times as you want. So now let's combine something. Let's knit, let's do the knit, purl, and knit. So now I have my 3. I'm going to turn and let's make one that's nice and tall. So that's 1, 2, 3. So only to show you how you can combine methods of casting on or binding off. It really doesn't matter how many you do it. It depends on your design or what your pattern calls for. So, but at least you know that they're available, that's many ways of doing it. So that's 3. 4. Let's do 2 more. So that's 1, 2, 3. And my needle's so crooked. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to cast off here. Either I can do 3 together, or, and then it would leave me something like this. So this is more of a loop. You see it? It's more of a little loop there because I did it with many rows. So it's kind of floaty. And another way of casting off these stitches would be what I already showed you. Let's do that. So another way would be to take that one, knit these 2 together and pass that one over. And another way of casting off your stitches would be if you bind off one by one. So we're going to knit it. Let's get this one in here. So we're going to knit it, knit it, knit it, and then this one we pass over this one, and this one we pass over that one, and that's it. So of course you can do it with 5 also, and I will make another one here without you waiting for me to turn, and I'll be right back. I went ahead and did this one, and I started by knitting 1 stitch into the front, the back, the front, the back, and the front, and that was row number 1. And then I purled, then I knitted, and then I purled, and now this is the bind off, and I'm going to do it with the last method that I showed you so that you can see how this becomes a bubble that's a little bit flat. So I knit my whole row, and on this row I am going to pass that one over and pass the next one over and pass the next one over and pass the next one over. I have all of them there, and now I can keep knitting. And this is how it looks, which is okay. It's a little bit flatter, but and it's also a little bit loopy. But this is another way of casting off, the same as the last 3 stitch bubble, and that's how it looks. So this is all the kinds of bubbles that I know on as far as making 3 or 5 or 7 into one. And this is the 3 methods that I know of taking off or knitting 3 together, and a whole variety of bubbles there. And thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to our channel and like us and share us with your friends. Thank you.